We were asked the question, why does God change names, as an example from Saul to Paul? Well, let's go back and look at a couple of others. God changed Sarai's name to Sarah because he was saying that Sarai was no longer his princess. She was the princess of all. So, because she was the mother of Isaac and all of the children that came after that, Jacob and the dividing of the whole of Israel. And if we take a look at Abraham, it was Abram to Abraham, and we have this going through. Maybe Jacob is probably one of the most dynamic changes, because the name Jacob means to grasp the heel, to be deceitful, to take something that doesn't belong to you. And Israel is one who wrestles with God to improve their life. They wrestle with God over the problems, over not letting go of sin, over forgiveness, for whatever it is. It's like being born again. You wrestle within yourself because of getting rid of the old self and putting on the new self. That's the idea of it. But we come to a problem when we look into the New Testament, because it wasn't written until 300 years after the occurrence. But Saul is a Hebrew name, and Paul is a Greek name. And God doesn't, you use that. If it was anything, the common name would have been Aramaic, which was the common language then. But he gave Saul a Greek name, a Roman name, because the origin is Latin, and we know that it's Roman, but we don't have a translation for it. We know what it means in Latin, and it was Paul was a borrower and he was going to be a giver, whatever it was. But it was, we don't know the exact change. But usually when God changes a name, it's about a change in the person's character or what they're going to be. Now, he doesn't do this with everyone. Like the prophets and stuff, he gave them a name and that was it. But you can't really translate, what God might have called Paul, because we don't know. There's nothing that writes it out. In the common language was Aramaic, not Greek, not Roman. So we have to figure out what that means if we look at the name change. But what God did is he took Saul from one who was let's say a zealot Jewish man who also sought to kill the people who believed that Jesus was Messiah, that he was the Son of God, that he was anointed. He was the anointed one we were looking for. And that understanding for the people would have been in Aramaic. So if God didn't use the Aramaic term, he must have used the Hebrew term, and they tried to translate it into Latin or Roman. So we don't really know there. But we have to understand that his whole demeanor, Saul's whole demeanor changed on that road to Emmaus. And that is the key. God changed the person and gave him a new name. What that name was, probably wasn't Paul, but we understand that that was a change in the person's character, in their demeanor, in their position and what they did. That's it. Amen.